Welcome to the Chaos Sector. In today's episode, we analyze moments of the January 6th hearing. It's gonna be cringeworthy for those who can spot deception, and for others who can't spot it, your lucky day, because that's why we're here to display it to you. We start with the most controversial aspect of January 6th, more so than the so-called insurrection on Capitol Hill. The most controversial issue is election fraud. Yes, this was feverishly swept under the rug by mainstream media, and sadly also from the Supreme Courts. Voter fraud was the allegation, and two individuals were suspected of carrying this crime out in surveillance. Let's examine the testimony from former Georgia election worker, Shay Moss.
Well, I know the events that we're here to talk about today are incredibly difficult to relive. Your proud service as an election worker took a dramatic turn on the day that Rudy Giuliani publicized a video of you and your mother counting ballots on election night.
Are you kidding me? What does Moss have to relive? That's so unbearable. Being accused of being an accessory of voter fraud? Wow, that's so hard for her to stomach. You do realize this does happen in elections, right? Over the past 40 years or so, many individuals have been charged with this very crime. What he is doing, along with Moss's puppy dog facial expressions, is to condition the viewers that her life has been a nightmare since that time. Yeah, she's really having a hard time sleeping since then.
President Trump, Rudy Giuliani, and others claimed, on the basis of this video, that you and your mother were somehow involved in a plot to kick out observers, bring suitcases of false ballots for Biden into the arena, and then run them through the machines multiple times. None of that was true, was it?
That is not how you question a witness or person of interest. He is confirming it wasn't true, in the form of a question. You are supposed to ask, are these allegations true? Moss then responds, no, that isn't true. And this is placed on the record. But because he has already established those allegations are not true, with no actual evidence by the way, the questioning is nothing more than leading the witness.
None of that was true, was it?
The tone of the so-called question of, none of that was true was it, is not a question. It is actually a statement that Moss will agree with, because she's being led to affirm everything. Just getting started, and I'm all over this crap fest of a hearing.
None of it.
I'd like to show you some of the statements that Rudy Giuliani made in a second hearing before the Georgia state legislators, a week after that video clip from State Farm Arena was first circulated by Mr. Giuliani and President Trump. I want to advise viewers that these statements are completely false and also deeply disturbing.
Tape earlier in the day of Ruby Freeman and Shay Freeman Moss and one other gentleman, quite obviously surreptitiously passing around USB ports as if they're vials of heroin or cocaine. I mean, it's obvious to anyone who's a criminal investigator or prosecutor, they are engaged in surreptitious illegal activity again that day. And that's a week ago, and they're still walking around Georgia lying. They should have been questioned already. Their places of work, their homes should have been searched for evidence of ballots, for evidence of USB ports, for evidence of voter fraud.
That video was from Rudy Giuliani's appearance at a Georgia State Senate hearing on December 10.
How do you know they are false statements? Is there any evidence you can present to refute what Giuliani alleged? Negative, and what was so deeply disturbing? Oh, Giuliani describing the transferal of USBs, like transferring vials of cocaine or heroin from one hand to another? Sure, it may be a bit graphic, and maybe not the best analogy, but if you understood the point of that analogy, he was simply saying the rapid pace in which those USBs were being exchanged was similar to how drug dealers exchange vials of cocaine or heroin in the streets, or in drug labs. Remember the movie, New Jack City? But of course, the USBs are the focus, and let's see what Moss's explanation is for the suspicious behavior.
How did you first become aware that Rudy Giuliani, the president's lawyer, was accusing you and your mother of a crime?
I was at work, like always, and the former chief, Mr. Jones, asked me to come to his office. And when I went to his office, the former director, Mr. Barron, was in there, and they showed me a video on their computer. It was just like a very short clip of us working at State Farm, and it had someone on the video like talking over the video, just saying that we were doing things that we weren't supposed to do, just lying throughout the video. And that's when I first found out about it.
And were there social media posts that they showed you responding to those false claims?
Well, when I saw the video, of course, the first thing that I said was like, why? Why are they doing this? What's going on? And they, just told me that Trump and his allies were not satisfied with the outcome of the election, and they were getting a lot of threats and
Fucking despicable. That is not how you question the person of interest. If the allegation from Giuliani was about criminal activity regarding those USBs, you are supposed to question her about those fucking USBs first. Why are you asking her about social media reactions, about the allegations raised about the activity, in the goddamn video those individuals are reacting to? This is to allow Moss to create the narrative of being a victim of, wait for it, racism. And once that makes its way into the hearing, especially with a black woman, everyone becomes subservient and shows sympathy. No second guessing, it's set in stone.
It was just a lot of horrible things there.
And those horrible things, did they include threats?
Yes, a lot of threats, wishing death upon me, telling me that, I'll be in jail with my mother, and saying things like, be glad it's 2020 and not 1920.
Yeah, of course, can't leave out the most important aspect of the entire crap fest. It's becoming outdated, and somewhat of a safety net. How many times can you go to the well, before the water runs dry? If you haven't figured out the connection they are making, racist death threats, provoked by a racist president. Sort of an oxymoron, don't you think? A racist president? The American people would have voted for that racist president, including non-white Americans. Are they suggesting that all non-white Americans are sellouts to their races? That's a huge percentage of the population you are slandering. They not only voted for Trump in 2016, but an even greater percentage of those populations again in 2020. The desperation is seeping out, it's time.
In one of the videos we just watched, Mr. Giuliani accused you and your mother of passing some sort of USB drive to each other. What was your mom actually handing you on that video?
Stop the damn presses, do you see what just happened? Exactly what I said happened, establish the victim first, then after that has been programmed into the minds of the viewers, ask about the subject matter at hand, the USBs.
In one of the videos we just watched, Mr. Giuliani accused you and your mother of passing some sort of USB drive to each other. What was your mom actually handing you on that video?
A ginger mint.
What the? Was this? I mean, it's like, what? What the hell? Did you just hear that? Did she just say what I think she said? Is this real life? I'm dead. This person on the stand testifying in front of hundreds in attendance, and in front of the American people, claimed that her mother handed her a ginger mint? A fucking ginger mint? Are you serious? If you listen to the awkward silence after that statement, you can almost feel the room's nervousness in that moment. Listen closely, the frequency is screaming, lies, 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 all lies.
What was your mom actually handing you on that video?
A ginger mint.
If you look to the right side of Moss, the individual with glasses on, just couldn't hold back their laughter, because it's so ridiculous. Is ginger mint your final answer? Moss was like, yeah, I'm going with that. Had to come up with an object that's small enough to debunk the theory it was a USB drive, but a ginger mint? Really? Goes to show that liars don't do a good job at it anymore. At least lying was believable back in the day. Wow.
It wasn't just Rudy Giuliani. We heard President Trump make these false allegations repeatedly during his call with Secretary Raffensperger. Let's listen to a portion of what he had to say about you and your mother.
We had at least 18,000, that's on tape. We had them counted very painstakingly, 18,000 voters having to do with Ruby Freeman. She's a vote scammer, a professional vote scammer and hustler.
Donald Trump attacked you and your mother using her name 18 times on that call. 18 times.
Something else was subliminally thrown out there, even from the orange puppet. The number 18, which was stated twice. What is this, you ask? 18 multiplied by 2, give you what? 36, and of course the number 36 represents triple sixes, they're all psychopaths. First the orange puppet says 18,000, which 0 is obsolete in numerology, twice, which gives you 18 times 2. Then the interrogator states 18 twice, which is also 18 times 2. But it flies over the viewers' heads, they are blindsided with numerology. But you, yes you, got it now.
Ms. Moss, can you describe what you experienced listening to former President Trump attack you and your mother in a call with the Georgia Secretary of State?
I felt horrible. I felt like it was all my fault. Like, if I would have never decided to be an elections worker, like, I could have done anything else, but that's what I decided to do, and now...
Oh wow, clearly scripted. So you believe it's all your fault, because you decided to be an election worker? This introspective response to Trump accusing her and her mother of election fraud actually shows how self-centered Moss is. Why? Because the question was, can you describe what you felt when Trump attacked you and your mother? She immediately makes it about herself, indicating that this would have never happened if she wasn't an election worker. But you are not the center of attention. Trump would have claimed the same thing about someone else who did the same thing. Voter fraud in the state of Georgia in 2020 is not exclusive to you alone, being an election worker. Because the script is designed to make her the victim, narcissism is always the driving factor. You have to embrace the role of that victim, and it requires you to focus on yourself more than anything or anyone else. Do you understand? The caution in which Moss speaks clearly shows how careful she has to tread through those questions. Because despite the fuckface leading her throughout the questioning, Moss knows the truth. She knows what crime she committed. And that is staring her right in the face, while simultaneously portraying the victim role. One's true colors always come out, the longer one talks. Now, despite what the fuckface questioning Moss says, despite what Moss herself claims, despite the narrative of Moss being a victim of racist attacks, none of that can debunk what is physically seen. The great thing about evidence is that you can prove something, like in court. Or in an episode exposing the blatant lies of an individual being used for political agendas. There are two videos that will be examined, the video regarding the USB, oops, my bad, the ginger mints, and then the surveillance from State Farm's arena. Was it actually a ginger mint? Or was it a USB drive? We will find out in the next episode. This is the Chaos Sector.